Hello and welcome to the 50-cent tour of Tuesday, September 24th, 2013. Please find a seat on the Liberty Bus and we will begin our tour of the day. Yesterday, Alex Jones had the lady who runs this site as a guest, and it's really because most people who study the kinds of things that we look at are aware of this. Sometimes I think we tend to forget just how much of a threat this really is. This website is smartmetersmurder.com, and it has a lot of very helpful links that can, if people are unaware of the concerns, this can help them become aware. Here's another website that is maintained by the same person or the same group, refusesmartmeters.com, and this website has some government documents. Here's one that is secret military documents that outline what the real dangers of smart meters are, and just how great of an impact they can have on your health. And yesterday we were talking about these kinds of things, and found out about this website, antennasearch.com, where you can plot your neighborhood, wherever, different, where you work, and see just how many antennas are around your home and what kind of EMFs you might be dealing with. And it's pretty easy to just enter an address and find out. So once you're more aware of these issues, if there's something that you want to do, if you can't move out to the desert or a place where there aren't EMFs, there are some different precautions that you can take. This website is lessemf.com, and they have some clothing. There are all kinds of products here that can help you overcome EMF exposure. Some of my favorites were some of the shielding products, some of the clothing. They have a canopy for a bed that you can hang and have EMF protection around your bed. They have some hoodies and some different kinds of hats, balaclava, and all kinds of clothing that can protect you from EMF radiation. And they some of the materials have a little bit of silver in them. Some of them are silver plated, and just some really interesting stuff here. And another website that has some suggestions is Earthcalm.com. They're just ways to neutralize EMF. So just some ideas there. And grounding your body helps. And I think one of the health issues that a lot of people face is that we're not grounded, that we build up static electricity in our bodies and carry it around. Well, these shoes are a remedy for that. But you actually have to walk outside on a natural surface or on concrete. Sadly, these don't work to ground yourself indoors unless your house is on a slab and you don't have carpet. Like if you maybe had a slate floor or something on a slab foundation, I'm not sure. But just some things to think about health-wise, and just to know that whatever is happening, there are ways to neutralize the negative effects. Here is an article from the Rand Paul Review. Obama supporters go hysterical over list of 252 examples of Obama's lying, corruption, and cronyism. And yes, there is a list here of 252. And if you have a stomach for it, have at it. But it's discouraging to realize that something like this has been permitted to happen in our country, that this level of fraud and, as the article says, lying, corruption, and cronyism can take place and not be talked about on the network news every night. And this video explains why that is so. This is David Icke, the Bloody Rothschilds, and I have only watched about half of it, but the people in the video were already talking about how virtually all mainstream media is networked together. The Rothschilds own Reuters, and Reuters bought the Associated Press, and the lion's share of news articles that most people see in the mainstream media come through the Associated Press. So this video is not just about the press. It gives a lot of insights into this family and the extent of the control that they have exercised. And just in considering that, I was thinking this morning about this passage from the book of Revelation, Babylon, the prostitute on the beast. And there's a specific issue that I want to consider here. This is verse 2. With her the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries. Now, I'm not a scholar, biblical scholar. I don't claim to understand the book of Revelation. But I think it's pretty clear that Babylon the Great here, the mother of prostitutes and of the abominations of the earth, I think that it's pretty clear that that has something to do with the world system which we find ourselves slaves to, basically. But what I want to see here is the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries. As Americans, we really have partaken of blood in some respects that has been shed to get oil and other commodities. You know, we've purchased things that have been produced in sweatshops, child labor, and we haven't given it a whole lot of thought. And I think some of that behavior is coming home to roost. And I'm not saying that, you know, that I do believe there is grace and mercy, but there's also reaping and sowing. And I believe that it's appropriate to just spend a little time before God, if Creator, however you feel connected to the universe, and just offer what Christians call repentance, a change of heart, a turning away, and see what our lifestyle has cost. And I'm not actually saying what a lot of the green people say, or the carbon tax people and all that we need to learn how to live at a lower level. I believe that what we need to do is, the ideal would be, is to extend a hand to people who have been more oppressed than we have, and to draw them out. And a lot of people try to say, like, I know Prince Charles believes that, and has said in speeches, that everybody needs to learn how to live at a lower level, except him, of course. But when we consider some of the new technologies that are out there that haven't been developed for free energy and recycled water and aquaculture, things of that nature, it really is possible for all the people of the earth to live at a higher level, and we don't need to enslave others in order to have the goods ourselves. Moving on, I thought this was an interesting article on 2012, The Big Picture, UK man sues the BBC for lying about 9/11. Wow, what would that be like if we all began to sue the mainstream media for lying to us? And you know, you can see that there have really been some serious damages uh, that have come from their lying to us and us believing their lies. So, you know, people who are trying to hoard money understand money. Money talks. And we can start to file lawsuits. I think that might help to turn the tide. And from Zero Hedge, there is an article from yesterday mapping the collapse of European democracy. And this is just evidence of how freedom is diminishing throughout the earth and how oppression is increasing. From the Electronic Frontier Foundation is an article, New Amicus Brief Urges Massachusetts to Require Warrants for Cell Tracking. So this is just an amicus brief, which is a friend of the court, just asking for this. But this the first paragraph, as the highest court in Massachusetts considers whether cell site data is private in the context of the Fourth Amendment, we filed an amicus brief arguing that when the police want to be able to recreate your every step, figuring out your patterns of movement, where you've been, and with whom, they must obtain a search warrant. And of course, all of that information is available through tracking cell phones. So the Electronic Frontier Foundation is asking Massachusetts to require warrants to track cell phones, which certainly seems reasonable in an effort to uphold the Fourth Amendment. And for some good news for the day, here's activist post, not news really, but encouragement, The Art of Self-Reliance in 5 Steps. And it's basically about setting goals, making a plan, and just doing it, just beginning somewhere, finding, you know, maybe starting small, but beginning somewhere. And in preparing for a crisis, this could be an interesting tool. Conflicted, the survival card game. It offers different scenarios that might occur in the case of a serious emergency. And just an opportunity to think through things and process information ahead of time a little bit, so that when you are in a situation, you don't just react, you make a decision based on issues that you've considered already. So hopefully you make fewer mistakes. If this kind of behavior response to a serious emergency, a crisis, should ever be needed, which hopefully it won't be. But whether there is a crisis or not, this article should be helpful. It asks law, high performance gardening. And this article has a lot of information about protecting the nutrients in the soil. And here's a quote, one sentence: the key to growing nutritional plants is to grow them in a soil that has a strong microbial environment. And of course, toxins like pesticides prevent that from happening. I have a friend who has long experience with growing plants for food from garbage and different kinds of stressed soil. And he claims that earthworms are very, very helpful in restoring soil. And this article and video have some ideas as well. So if you're thinking about getting more serious about gardening, here's some ideas. The Daily Tour is a presentation of She Who Will Walk in the Dark Productions, and we thank you for joining with us for today's tour. The dawn is coming, it always does. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.